All right, thank you, media, for waiting for this important press conference. I have the pleasure of introducing to the press in this occasion the Honorable Richard Marles, the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. He is not new to Papua New Guinea. He tells me he's been here more than 20 times. More than 20 times. The first time he came here was 1984. Quite a number of visits made over the time in his private life as well as in his public life. And the Honorable Richard Marles. Richard, welcome back to, if you don't mind, I'm calling you first name. Call me first name. We, Papua New Guinea and Australia is in very, very close. I go down to Australia, they call me by first name, they come up here, I call them by first name. And it's not only me, but prime ministers before me always had this rapport with Australia. At the government-to-government level, we always have warm relationships, good and solid relationships, business-to-business likewise, people-to-people likewise. The Honourable Richard Marles is coming at the back of the foreign minister who visited us earlier, the Honourable Penny Wong. Later in November, later this year in November, our two countries' ministerial forum will take place in Canberra. Our ministers and their ministers will meet to discuss our bilateral relationships, and will be graced by a visit by the Honourable Anthony Albanese in December in Port Moresby and Ruek. So these are high-level engagements taking place that puts value to our relationship, if not anchor our own relationships better. Most of you would have known our country and Australia has a comprehensive strategic economic partnership relationship with Australia. We've now at almost, if not at the equal level of relationship, we see eye to eye in most matters, something that is close to heart and our country knows very well in terms of commerce, trade and economy. Australia understands very much where we are moving, looking at giving great support in the area of ensuring that Australia business, PNG business has more interface. Earlier this morning we spoke on the issues of things like visa and working towards ensuring we are tidy. Papua New Guinea has to fix our own systems here. They will also give help with what needs to be done. And so conversations has been very warm. The Deputy Prime Minister is flying across with our Deputy Prime Minister to Lae to open the Angau hospital, a reflection of what Australia has been to us since 1975, having interventions in many sectors of our country, whether it's in the social sector or in the infrastructure sector or in the law and justice sector or in the economic sector. They've always had the hand inside. Later today, as he goes to open Angau Hospital, something that has been worked upon for the last 5-6 years. It's a reflection of Australia and PNG's relationship, and I could say here with no element of biasness, there is no greater relationship Papua New Guinea has than the Australia-PNG relationship. We are joined to the hips, literally speaking, and in every sense. If you look at the plate that we sit on, the geological plate that we sit on, the major part of our plate is the same plate that Australia sit on. And so we are linked to the hip, but in terms of going forward, we want to tidy in our own relationship. It is now Labour government in Australia, it is now Pangu government in Papua New Guinea. That combination has been the combination that delivered our political independence in 1975. In our two government-to-government relationship, we want to tidy on other areas of our own relationship that should be better, so to strengthen our bilateral relationship going forward into the future. The Honourable Richard Marles, this is the first time you come since I've got myself into office. Please come back second time, third time, make it your second home away from home. We look forward to give you a piece of Papua New Guinea if you choose to retire when you retire from politics. But you have always come up here. We know this is not the last time you'll be here. thank you for bringing yourself at your current designation to come and visit us. Your visit reflects the true bond of relationship we have between Australia and Papua New Guinea. Please, you have a moment to the press.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you for those very warm comments. For me, it is an absolute joy to be here today. And as I stand here in Parliament House, I can honestly say that I stand next to my brother. And that reflects the relationship between our two countries. The warmth that I feel with the Prime Minister is a reflection of the nature of the relationship between Australia and Papua New Guinea in 2022. This is my first visit since our election in May and since the election here in July, and we are seeing in that sense two governments after our respective elections really forging a closer and stronger relationship between our two nations, and that builds on a very strong foundation. A foundation which is more than friends. We are, as the Prime Minister has said, we are family. We are very much family. And that's important given the circumstances that we see in the world today. The strategic circumstances that face our world right now are as complex and challenging as any that we have faced since the end of the Second World War. And how we deal with them is not necessarily obvious, but one point is really clear. This is a time where you need to be close to friends, and that's how we feel in relation to PNG. We've been talking a lot about how at a defence level we can do more together, have more coordination, have our servicemen and women working alongside each other more in the spirit of partnership. We're looking at ways in which we can support that at a policing level as well. Looking at a bilateral security treaty so that we elevate the arrangements between our two countries to the status of a treaty document between our two nations. And as the Prime Minister has also said, looking at ways in which we can make our economies more seamless so that we can promote economic growth here in Papua New Guinea, but also in Australia. Labour mobility, seeing the opportunity for more Papua New Guineans to work in Australia is, we hope, a great opportunity for Papua New Guineans. It's fantastic, obviously, for the Australian economy. Us being close together works for both of our countries, and that is at the heart of the conversations that we have had. And we're also thinking a fair bit about how we can translate that into rugby league. We would really love to see a team from Papua New Guinea participating in the national competition in Australia, and we want to work to that end as quickly as we can. At a personal level, as the Prime Minister said, I first came here in 1984. As I look at the pictures of the Prime Ministers on the wall, I've met all but one of them. This is, for me, a second home. Papua New Guinea is the most remarkable country in the world. Life is lived here in a way that it's just not lived anywhere else on the planet. It is a place of endless adventure and excitement and colour. And it is a thrill for me to be back here for the first time as the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. And I can assure you it will not be the last time, and I really look forward to future engagements where I'm coming here, but future engagements where the Prime Minister and his ministers are joining us in Australia.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions from the media before we have a little bit of exchanges to make, but any 2 or 3 questions? Malu, you coordinate the media questions. Tony?
Perenakara from the ABC and for most Deputy Prime Minister Marles, do you believe the renewed Australia-PNG defence agreement can be finalised by the end of the year, as the Foreign Affairs Minister of Papua New Guinea said he would like to see?
Well, we want to progress our agreements as quickly as possible, and we want to put substance to those agreements, where we're actually looking at ways in which we can help where there are capability gaps here in PNG, build capability But that works to Australia's advantage as well. One of the points that we seek to make here is that this is very much an equal relationship where there's as much for Australia to gain in this as there is in supporting PNG and building its capability, and we think defence is a really critical way in which we can do that. So we will work as quickly as we can to pursuing our agreements with PNG in relation to defence. It matters to get those documents right. What really matters is to get the substance to those documents happening as well.
Deputy Prime Minister, why is this renewed agreement necessary, and what will it allow the two countries to do that they aren't already doing in the defence space?
Yeah, again, a good question. And the last thing I would want to give a sense is that there is a high degree of coordination and cooperation between our defence forces right now, because there is. Indeed, I think the defence relationship is one of the strengths of the bilateral relationship. But this is really playing to that strength. It's looking at ways in which we can take the very close relationship we have, where most officers in the PNG Defence Force have received some kind of training in Australia. There's a lot of engagement right now, but looking at how we can take that engagement and build upon it to make our defence forces even closer, where we are having our defence personnel work alongside each other more, and in the process making both of our defence forces more capable. And that's across all the domains: maritime, aviation, and army. And we really want to look at ways in which we can do that. Last week we had our officials here in Port Moresby talking about the specifics of that, and we've got a very ambitious agenda between both of our countries to try and create that.
Put me under the spotlight. He's a guest to us, please. Let's give him over speak.
Prime Minister, in your capacity as the Parliamentary Services Minister some 15 years ago, you dealt extensively with Bougainville, and now that you're Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister, are there any arrangements, or what is your what is Australia's plans for assisting Papua New Guinea on the issue of Bougainville?
Well, back in 2011, I visited Bougainville, and it is a very beautiful part of the world, and there's a lot of history in terms of Australia's engagement here. The answer to this is pretty simple. As a witness to the arrangements that were put in place in respect of Bougainville more than 20 years ago, our job is to support Papua New Guinea, and that's what we're going to do. So our job is to support Papua New Guinea in the decisions that it makes around what arrangements take place in the future. It is absolutely not our role to articulate views there. Our role is to support the Prime Minister and the government of Papua New Guinea in the decisions that it makes in respect of the future of Bougainville, and we stand ready to do that.
All right, the Parliament bells are going on and off, and I need to be heading down to the Parliament, but let me, on behalf of all citizens of my country, thank you very much for gracing us with your visit. Every visit from foreign dignitary is appreciated by all of us. In a typical Melanesian society, we usually give a gift at our own level. It's not the size of the gift that matters, but it's the value of the gift and the token that matters very much. And at your visit, I'd like to give you a good book of one of the fathers of our country, Sebi Olawala. It talks about almost over 150 years of relationship between our side of the Torres Strait and your side of the Torres Strait. As I was saying, we are joined to the hips, and anything we do forward to construct a better Papua New Guinea is a better and safer Australia. A better Australia and safer Australia is a better Papua New Guinea and safer Papua New Guinea. We are joined at the hips as we were before, and we are today and going forward. What we do doesn't compromise your national interests. What we are doing doesn't compromise our national interest, but it is our shared interest that must be promoted going forward. This book has many of our shared history, and it depicts person to person and how we all started right almost 100 years ago.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. It's a very, very special gift. I'm actually aware of this book, and I've not read it, but and I look forward to it. But the story of a great man. And Prime Minister, can I, on behalf of our country, so this plate is made by a company called the Wagga Cooperative in my electorate in Geelong. They're an Indigenous company, so it's a modern piece, but you can see Indigenous motives on it. But it's a gift from Australia, but also from Geelong.
I'll cover it once Aussie will sometimes with you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, media. They're flying across to Lae for the opening of our Angau hospital. Angau will become a specialist hospital for our country, and we appreciate what they're doing. All the best as you travel across. We'll see you tomorrow in the